Welcome to the Exhibit Marketers Cafe. It's virtual lunchtime, and today we are celebrating because for the first time, we are broadcasting live to LinkedIn. So if you are joining us from LinkedIn, please type in the comments. Alan is actually, my husband Alan is behind the scenes as always, and he's actually joining us from LinkedIn. So he'll be able to see your comments as they pop up in there, and hopefully I will too. That's the plan. Now, one thing though, if you are watching on LinkedIn, if you're on the event page and watching from there, I'm not sure that the comments work from there. I think you may have to be watching actually from the live stream broadcast from my profile. So, we're learning as we go here. So it's kind of ironic, isn't it, that, oh, yeah, and I could see his monitor from here, so I could see it's actually working. It's kind of ironic that the week that we have a social media expert is when we finally get on LinkedIn, right? Maybe that was good vibes from Monica, having her on board. So, but we'll get to that in just a minute. I see we've got a comment. Phil is here. Hi, Phil. And he's joining us from LinkedIn. Yay! Can you tell I'm excited? Oh, and Marco is here from Italy. I should say thanks to Marco because Monica was a referral from Marco. I did not know Monica personally, and Marco recommended her. So, that's what's great about this network that we have. So it's really cool. All right. Okay. So I'm going to go through some of our news and tidbits here. The first link that I want to share it's kind of interesting. You kind of need to stretch beyond a little bit. It's geared towards concerts, but what kinds of applications could we have in the trade show world? Sprite, the beverage, is doing a promotion called Live from the Label. And so here is, and I see Alan is just LinkedIn user today. So there's the link for that. But what they're doing, they've got QR codes on the label and you can scan, and then that gives you virtual tickets to the concerts. Also, they've got merchandise and other perks. But I thought it was really interesting to think about how could we use, especially we've had this conversation before that QR codes kind of went away, but now they're back, especially since we're doing a lot of virtual things. So it's kind of interesting to think about how could we incorporate something like that. The other cool thing about what they're doing with their concert series is they've got like new startup acts that are they're letting the celebrity artists choose which of the new startups they want to have as their opening act. So I thought that was really cool. So, just kind of think about how you could take some of these lessons that we see. There's so many things to learn outside the trade show and events industry, and just look at what some other companies are doing. The next thing I want to feature is Atlanta just opened a new venue a new entertainment. It really defies classification, but it's a tourist / entertainment / venue. It's called the Illuminarium. And it is for those of us who are into experiential, it just sounds like a haven. It is right now the event that they're running is Safari. And so this is an article from NAB show. They had a really interesting article about it. And then we're going to share a link to a YouTube video as well. But they have, it's like the IMAX theater where it's the surrounding, the theater all around you with the video playing, but they've gone beyond to where the floor vibrates. So this is Safari. So you've got elephants walking across and you can feel it in the floor, and they've got scents piped in, and it's just supposed to be, the people that you see on the videos that are talking about it are just like awestruck at how real it is. And then one of their upcoming, that's going to be where they change these, tours or themes, whatever. And so then coming up, they're going to do spacewalks. So you'll get to feel like you're walking on the moon. And they said even, they've got the projection on the floor. And so you even see like your footprints as you walk. And, for those of us who remember back at Mandalay Bay in Vegas, how they used to have the shark promo on the wall, and it was like, as you walked by, it would interact with the scene. So it must be something kind of like that. There's the link to the YouTube video as well. So, and as you see, Alan is posting in LinkedIn. All of these links are already in the YouTube description if you have to be joining us from there. But so far today, it looks like everybody's on LinkedIn. Oh, I should also point out that we're also doing something else in celebration today of what we're doing. And I just realized I forgot to grab it, but we are doing a prize drawing. So somebody is going to get to win one of our Spark night lights. You know, if you participated in Spark last month, you got to see our wonderful friend Rama from Lev Promotions was responsible for getting us these great night lights. So we are going to do a drawing for that here coming up in a little bit. So that is another cool thing we've got coming up today. The next thing is also another article from NAB. And this is talking a little bit, again, more about maybe consumer events and things like that. But they're saying that people want to live and experience their experiences both in person and online. And I think that's one thing that there's been a lot of discussion that, you know, here as we transition back that, thank you, as we transition back that online is going to go away. And it's not. It's, as they say in the article, it's not a binary choice. It's a combination. And how can we use online to enhance that in-person experience? So that's a really interesting article. Oh, I'm going to go put this up. There we go. Okay. So now a couple of industry. Oh, and here is that Spark Nightlight that we're going to give away. So be sure, anybody who comments, so just comment, say hi, respond to one of the news bits that we're sharing, anything, and you get in the drawing. We'll do that in just a few minutes here. But the next article is how Chicago is losing its dominance in the trade show industry. Now, I will tell you, this is a really long article. But it's very thorough. I mean, they go back and they share the history of McCormick Place, you know, talking about, you know, how it came to be, the fire, you know, the legendary fire that we all have heard about, you know, and things like that. But then they talk about other things, other elements in the city of, like, you know, the hotel tax and, the labor challenges and issues. So, you know, they really profile a lot of these different things and then explain why shows are leaving and where they've gone. And so it's just a really in-depth, very interesting article. And it will be interesting to see how Chicago recovers from all of this, because it's not just, you know, as they point out in the article, it's not just this past year and the virus and the shutdown that has been the effect, but it's a lot of other factors. So anyway, very interesting and well worth at least a skim if you don't read the whole thing. All right. And then on the heels of that, talking about exhibitor labor issues and challenges, EDPA has a report, a free report that you can go download. They're calling The Future of Trade Shows. And so there is that link. But it's exhibitor advocacy. And so talking about things like labor issues, transparency of costs, you know, just some of the things that we've all been talking about for years, and how, you know, the exhibitors really lost their voice after TSEA went away. And so it's just a very, very good resource I think you should go grab. And then the last link that I want to share here is if your convention skills are a little rusty after the past year and a half. And it's kind of funny, but I've been hearing people who've been going to events saying this, that, you know, they kind of forget how to network. You know, people, you know, business cards, first of all, do you hand them out now? Does anybody want them? Are they even still relevant? But, you know, business cards, no badges. I've heard several people saying, you know, now that shows are going to the digital badges, and you can't like cheat and look at that name badge and see somebody's name. That's a challenge. And just the social fatigue. Everybody talks about Zoom fatigue, but going back and being in a crowd of people is now creating social fatigue. So anyway, it's just kind of a fun article, something a little bit different to think about. Dia Stokes Kelly is here from Atlanta. Oh, Atlanta, you're going to be able to go check out that Illuminarium exhibit here soon. And a first timer, so welcome. So good to have you here. All right, so let's see. So then just a few other quick housekeeping announcements I want to go over. Last month, as you know, we did Spark. Like I said, make sure you comment to get your name in the drawing for the Spark Nightlight. But we had our Spark conference, our 2-day conference, and we had so many great speakers and sessions, and not even just the speakers, but then later in the day when we had our connection time around the tables in AirMe, and so many great connections were made. So that was really fun. But if you missed out on that, you haven't missed out completely, because we have a Spark Encore package. And so here is the link. You can just go to the Spark page on my website, and there is a package. You can still get access to all the Encore replays. You'll still be included. I'm working on the recap right now of all the ahas and highlights. And so you'll get that ebook when it's ready. We're going to do another event later this fall. You'll get invited to that. So you get basically all of the same benefits, except for just not being able to access that interaction that we had live. But anyway, if you want to make sure that you get a chance at that, that's the link for that one. And then I see Valerie's here from Long Beach, New York. Welcome, Valerie. Good to have you here. Oh, and Dia said, yep, she's going to go check out that Illuminarium. You'll have to report back to us and tell us how it is. I'm excited. All right. And then the next thing another announcement for the cafe community is literally the cafe, Exhibit Marketers Cafe community, which is part of our Spark package. That's another piece of it that you'll have access. That's where the replays live right now, is in the community. And then also we'll have other interactions in there. But I'm going to put that link up here in just a second, as soon as it appears. In the meantime, I see Al is here from New York. Welcome, Al. Always good to have you here. Al was an active part of our Spark event. We got a chance to chat there. Okay, here is the link for the community, so you can go and get signed up for that. And so let's see. So I'm going to, this is going to be a first time for me. We're going to do our drawing here real quick. So I have to load up my other screen. All right. So it looks like we have 5 entries. So I will leave this loaded up for just a second and let you guys go ahead. And if anybody wants to comment, get their name in the drawing here before we draw. And if we draw Alan as our LinkedIn user, we will draw again. But let's see. Oh, one other quick link. A lot of people I've told about one of my favorite resources of AppSumo, where I get a lot of software at like steal of a deal prices. So they are doing a special event this week called, well, they call it Sumo Day, but it's actually running now through Friday. So Alan's going to put that link up here in just a second. Well, oh, there it is. So if you go to that link, this is my referral link, so I will get credit if anybody does decide to go. But they're going to have, I don't even know what they are. They just literally opened at the same time we did here at noon. So I haven't checked out what all the deals are, but there's going to be some really cool stuff that you can pick up at great bargain prices this week. So you may want to go check that out. And I see Rama is here from Lev Promotions in San Diego. So Rama, we're giving away one of your night lights. So, all right. So I am going to go ahead and do the drawing here. All right. Phil wins a nightlight, which I know you already got one as one of our speakers, but we'll figure out something. So anyway, I just wanted to do this partly because it's cool and it's new, and Ramon thinks it's cool too. But anyway, I just wanted to try out this whole new feature that StreamYard has of being able to do the giveaways. And I thought, what better time than to celebrate being on LinkedIn after a year of waiting. So anyway, speaking of waiting, Monica has been so patient waiting behind the scenes as we ran long today. So I'm going to bring her on and introduce her, and we're going to go ahead and have our conversation about social media. Monica Vila is co-founder and CMO at OM Media, or OM, as it's known by clients. OM is one of the pioneer influencer and social media marketing agencies launched in 2010 for consumer-facing and B2B brands working across all social platforms. Programs and activation for OM's clients run the gamut of platforms, including Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest. Prior to entering the social marketing world 11 years ago, Monica worked for years in the trade show industry at Reed, Blenheim, Miller Freeman, and Ziff Davis. She founded and sold 2 startups in the event space and is comfortable across 5 languages. So, Monica, welcome to Virtual Lunch.
Hey, Marlis, how are you? Great to be here.
Thanks. It's great to have you. There is so much to talk about in the realm of social media. And I think where I want to start, though, is I think a lot of events are not utilizing social media to its best advantage. So talk a little, since you have that combination of the social media and the events background, talk a little bit about what are some of the what some of the things that events do wrong and what they could do better with their social media marketing.
Well, it's a big question.
Yeah.
Also, yeah. Now let me start by criticizing people. Now, I haven't been involved in trade shows or events in that form for a while. But when I launched OM Media Group about 10 years ago, in fact, I announced it in 2008 when the world basically caved in.
Yeah, the last time.
So it was although I did hear that, recessions and events like that are great moments to launch new businesses like now. Or as it feels right now anyway. So I would say that what has happened is a lot of events have used social media as a way to recruit attendance. Because, attendance recruitment, people actually coming to our shows used to be perhaps one of the most challenging events. Like it was really, really where we focused a lot of our spend and energies and strategy, at least for the events that I had been involved in. The last big show I ran actually was Comdex, and Comdex in Las Vegas didn't really have that problem. But there were a multitude of Comdex versions around the world. Mm-hmm. And it was always a challenge to make sure that the IT folks that we were hoping to invite to attend and walk those aisles would come. And so I've seen a lot of great events use social media to invite and to actually extend the promotional efforts. And unfortunately, social media they're not really platforms designed for one-way speak. They're platforms for engagement. And as you know, and as we've seen in the last year, a lot of what can happen live can happen online. We can see each other, we can talk to each other, we can negotiate. And so there's so much more that we can be doing for events with social platforms at the moment.
Well, so let's talk a little bit. I know that what you do at OM Media is you focus a lot on influencer marketing. In the trade show and events world, how do we tap into that influencer marketing concept?
Yeah, it's really I get super excited about talking on this because it's still very underutilized medium. I think the challenge is that everyone's an influencer these days. It's exploded as a platform. It's expected to be sort of billions of dollars marketer spending on influencers, but they're not all created equal. They're not all effective. And just because they have 1 million followers doesn't mean they're going to do the job for what you're hoping to accomplish. So I would actually say one of the clients that we've worked for, we did kind of a multiple step process for them. It was a big event. And we did an audit of how they were using their social media strategy. How was that being deployed? Looked at their handles. We did an in-depth analysis, really, of where they were. They had a Facebook page. They had a Twitter account. They had dabbled in new platforms, newer platforms, video platforms. And so we did a full audit to say, what are you hoping to, what business goal are you hoping to support? And so that's a great start. I find social platforms, and maybe I was trained by someone who was so single-minded around sales. His name was Bob Krakoff. Some people might know him. He died too young, really, for my taste. But his focus was always, how does it support your revenue objectives, really? Because it's nice to have a big social presence and to have a lot of conversation perhaps going on, but really, how does it support your business goals? And so we focus a lot on that. So for example, this event I'm talking about, I'm not allowed to actually share which one it is, but...
Well, sure.
Well, at some point. It was basically business goals. So sales, let's talk about sales, sponsorship sales, exhibit sales. And how do you offer additional reach with your own social platforms, with your own handles to support, say, your top 5 sponsors? Because you can really measure reach and impressions in CPM conversations. Digital marketing, you can't really live without CPM metrics. And now you can speak that language, really, because in the past, trade shows were all about the flesh, pound the flesh, how many people are walking the aisles, the busier, the better. We used to say, at Comdex, if you can't walk down the aisle, that's a successful event. I can't imagine anything worse these days. Certainly post pandemic, but as we emerge from that, and you mentioned it in your credits, right? People are skittish about getting too close to people. And then quite honestly, Comdex, we realized so many attendees were coming from the southern desert of Nevada. And so that's great. That's a lot of people, but are you really giving value to your exhibitors and your sponsors by adding so many bodies that are not really buyers?
Exactly. Well, and that's one thing I've always said is just because you've got bodies walking the aisles doesn't mean they're buyers, because, I would rather have a smaller attendance of really highly qualified people, which, by the way, is a benefit right now, because the people who actually are coming to the shows are the ones who are the most serious. And that's the one thing I've been hearing from exhibitors across the board. So let's talk a little bit about some examples maybe from consumer brands, because, maybe some of the trade shows haven't quite got it mastered yet. But the other day when we had our conversation, you mentioned Peloton for one example. So talk a little bit about what some of the consumer brands are doing that trade shows could copy.
Yeah. I mean, I think in the issue of influencer marketing, we've done this work now across brands for the NFL, for Verizon. We've launched a few new products, tech. We've supported Swiffer, really, across the board. And the bottom line is, in the case of influencer marketing, if you spend $1, you'll get $7 back. And that's, extensively researched by McKinsey and many other brands. What consumer brands are doing that I think trade shows could copy is engage a targeted group of influencers in that space that may communicate with your exhibitors' customers to buy into the concept of your show. And so, for example, take if Verizon is launching a new smartphone with Samsung and it's a 5G enabled device, what does 5G mean? And 5G for a gamer means that they can have almost no lag in an online game, for example. And so if you engage gaming influencers, people that are constantly, say, on Twitch, these are, by the way, they're not couch basement types anymore. Gamers are among us. They're people like you. And so if you find those influencers that have, potentially a great feed, they could be photographers, they could have other day jobs, but they're also gamers, and they're going to talk about the product in the context of what it means to them. Then you really have a very powerful connection between your product, say in the case of a show, and your exhibitors' products. I don't know, think about the Kitchen and Bath Show, and many of these may not even exist anymore, but say the Kitchen and Bath Show, your top sponsors, some new appliances, and you have people that are actually using them prior to the show and talking about how they connect to the internet and how you go to the grocery store and now your refrigerator is telling your smartphone that you don't have any milk. So you can really be showcasing exhibitor products the way consumer brands are showcasing their own products through the use of influencers, but in ways that describe the value. What does it mean? So 5G means something different to a 55 plus person that wants to be safe, wants to be able to get in a car and drive and know that his or her phone will stay connected, than what it means to a gamer, as we said, or what it means to a young mom. And the trick is not to use social media so that you can say you're actually on social media and maybe you get 3 retweets or 10 comments. It's more about really explaining the benefits. What job are you getting done through social platforms?
Well, and I love that because, like you said, when you've got actual audience members who are using the products and talking about, it's so much more authentic and real, because it's not just all, the show is putting out all of this information and just all, or the exhibitors themselves and just promoting themselves, but it's coming from the actual audience and the actual users. And I think that's what's so valuable. And I know that's another one of the trends that has come out of the past year that is going to be ongoing, is that people look to even celebrities, they're looking to them now to be more authentic and more transparent. And I think that is key on what you were just talking about, is tapping into that authentic, real life. Hey, this is what I do. I remember several years ago, Kristen Bell and her husband, I can't remember what his name was, but they were doing the commercials for the refrigerators, and and it just so you kind of felt like you're behind the scenes, you're watching them just doing things in their house or whatever. And I think people really related to that. And so I think that's one thing, like you said, that shows need to grasp, that having these influencers that are just, not even powerful, but just, real world people in the audience. So that, I think that's really cool. I want to shift gears a little bit, just because it was like a hot thing. And then now maybe not so hot, is what's called audio marketing. And so of course, Clubhouse was the big thing. And I know last year it was like we were all jealous of everybody who could get on, and while we couldn't. And then I finally got on this spring, and I feel like about the time I got on, everything kind of slowed down. But maybe it really hasn't. And then I know there's Twitter Spaces, which you told me about, and I tried to get on, but it seems like with that one, you have to have somebody you follow who's doing a space currently in order to get in. And every time I tried to get in, I couldn't. So talk a little bit about, do you think this is going to pick back up? Do you think Twitter Spaces is going to take off, or where do we go from here?
So I feel like that conversation is a little bit like, do I need this conference table? It's so interesting to me, and it's a fair question. Everybody asks the question, and I kind of go back to, what are you hoping to accomplish? We talked about Peloton is a stationary bike without its community, and so the focus is build a community. And where is your community going to be? Where can you grow it? Where can you get yourself known and add value? And that's the platform that you go for. If you think about Pinterest has been around for such a long time, perhaps since the beginning of social platforms, and it's probably one of the most successful platforms lately, right? They've done so many right things. Is that the right platform for you? We can't just keep going to the newest and shiniest object, because yes, audio is an important space. We see on the explosion of podcasts. You have a very successful platform yourself, but it starts with, and again, do you need that conference table? It's not about how you do it. It's what are you trying to do, and how are you going to build a community? If you don't have a community around your event and around your product, even if it's small, you probably don't have a lot of long life with it. It's not easy to innovate. It's not easy to really communicate directly. And I'm really talking a little bit more here about the consumer space. As far as B2B, there are some very powerful groups meeting regularly on Clubhouse. If that's a community, for example, VCs, a lot of VCs, well, that could make sense. And so there's communities. Did you know, for example, that Twitch has a thriving music community? Nope, they're not even gaming. Twitch has perhaps 14 or so, it's like 13 or 14 thriving categories. Burberry's did a fashion show on Twitch.
Oh, really?
They weren't targeting gamers.
Huh.
So this is kind of a little bit of the work that we do, is we look at on a product by product or event by event and say, what is the underlying way in which you want to build a community and have direct contact with your attendees and your exhibitors, that you can be in a position of being a thought leader as the event producer and communicate and build that conversation and engagement. So when you have the live event, you've probably secured 10 influencers to start talking about new products. Because one thing that hasn't gone away is that it's a little bit like 30% or even a little more than 30% of attendees are coming to a trade show or a consumer show to see what's new.
Right.
And it may be new to them. So it's not necessarily a product that's just been introduced. It could be a product they haven't seen before. And so you have to, if you cater to that one goal in your event, then social platforms are going to be extremely powerful to help you build that buzz and get more people to come. But also, if you're streaming, get more people to join your streams. And to me, that is actually more important. Build a community that's going to give you a quality about your product that you may not already have. And again, that Peloton versus just a bike. We've all had stationary bikes that are incredible coat hangers. But Peloton, and let me tell you, if you don't get on your Peloton in a week and you've been getting on once or twice, they're chasing you. They're like sending you emails and they're like, hey, we haven't seen you in a while. And have you been?
The guilt factor.
It's well, a little guilt, but also a little like, hey, we have this new, 5 videos from your favorite instructor, and we now have yoga. Would you like to join this class? So that's a community to me, and it's not just the product. And I think that social platforms, any of them, in any combination, I tend to stay away from Facebook. I'm a little biased. I prefer other platforms, again, like Twitch, can really support that goal at the very least of what's new.
Well, and I think it probably all goes back to maybe a good place to start is to survey your audience for your show and find out what platforms they're on. Because, like, Burberry doing a fashion show on Twitch, how did they ever come up with that idea?
Spent a lot of money.
Yeah. So I think just figuring out which platforms you need to focus on, because we can't, I haven't done TikTok. I haven't done Twitch. I haven't even done Instagram, because I focus on like the big four of Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, because that's where I feel like my audience is. But, maybe I'm missing a whole crowd of people on Twitch and TikTok. I don't know.
Well, it's possible. But you're right. You need to find out where they are. But don't forget that if you, for example, do a stream on YouTube and you're opening your show and it's your first day, so you have a live stream on YouTube, and you introduce them to your Twitch channel, or you introduce them there to your Facebook page, or you create a private Facebook group for your community. Those are the kinds of things that you can actually bring an audience from one place to another. Mm-hmm. People that are online, that are in a platform, it's a great way to start, for sure, to survey them. But once you start adding value, once they see, oh, I don't want to miss this tweet. We all have those people, right? That we check and we go, I don't want to miss this one. This one's too funny. I'd never want to miss those Instagram posts from this one guy who I cry laughing every single morning, and he puts one up every single day, and I inevitably cry laughing. It's too funny. So you want to be that. That's the goal, is you want to be that resource. When someone's like, okay, let me check out my industry news, which is what I use Twitter for, to be honest. I can't afford to read all the stuff I need to read. But with Twitter, I get curated resources. You want to be, as an event, you want to be one of those curated resources for your exhibitors, for your sponsors, and for your attendees.
I love that. I think that's a perfect point to end with, because that is true. That is what, especially going forward, building that community and curating the content is where it's going to be for event organizers going forward. Monica, thank you so much. Tell us, Alan's going to put up your website link here, but tell us how people can get in touch with you, or how you can help them going forward. I know you had something you'd mentioned to me previously.
Oh, no, thank you. Yeah, I'm Monica J. Vila on LinkedIn. So look me up and send me a connection request. I'd love to meet. I really miss my trade show days. I'm grateful for Marco Barazzi, who I stay in touch with. He's like a brother to me. And I'm so grateful that I'm still in touch with him. But yeah, absolutely. If anybody needs a quick audit and some quick time, I'd love to spend some time with that medium that I've grown up in, really.
Great.
Thank you, Alice.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Monica, for being here as our guest on Virtual Lunch. And Arlene likes the comment of curated resource. So that's what we're all going to aspire to. So thank you very much. And everybody, we will be back in 2 weeks for another Virtual Lunch. And then we're going to take the month of August off, just to kind of give everybody a bit of a break, and then be back together again in September. I see Al has one more post here. It says, join us at the Together Again Job Fair and Expos. We work together to build awareness, create jobs, and bring our people back to the industry they love. Yes, and I will be sharing about that in social media as well. Thanks for bringing that up, Al. I'll make sure also in 2 weeks that that's one of our announcements in the first part of our show. So anyway, thank you, everybody, for being here, and we will see you in a couple of weeks. Bye.
Thank you.